A conference championship tonight. Cronin's crew led by senior point guard Troy Copain, making his 98th start for the Bearcats, and powerful leading scorer Kyle Washington, who leads his team and leads the conference in field goal percentage. We welcome you to Champ Week. You're watching the Frontier Communications American Championship. It's the second seed Cincinnati Bearcats, tonight taking on the 7th seed Tulsa Golden Hurricane from the XL Center in downtown Hartford. Alan Bestwick here with Coach Tim Welsh. This is the third of 4 quarterfinal games today. First one featured the 1 seed SMU roaring out to a 24-point lead, then having to hang on for a win.
It wasn't easy, Alan. They didn't play the defense they normally do in the second half. Gave up a ton of threes to East Carolina, but at the end, the superhero, Shemi Ojale, bailed him out.
Conference Player of the Year leading his team to victory. Matt Williams got hot for the UCF Knights.
Oh, he did. Taco Fall was on the bench in foul trouble, and Matt Williams said, okay, no problem. I'm dialing you up from long distance.
So Memphis and East Carolina are done. It's SMU and UCF in the first of Saturday's semifinals. Houston and UConn play later tonight. First, Cincinnati and Tulsa for a spot in Saturday's second semifinal game. And hello from the XL Center. Alan Bestwick here with Coach Tim Welsh. We just talked about Cronin's crew. This team led by some veteran leaders and a couple of exciting young players.
Well, Cronin's crew typically always plays that hard-nosed defense, and this is no different. This team, very successful on the defensive end of the floor, but people think this team can maybe go farther than any of mixed teams because of these guys and their whole group as a whole. They really are efficient on the offensive end. They shoot the ball well, they share it, and they can score a lot of points in bunches.
This is the third time the teams have played this year. Tulsa had a chance to beat Cincinnati on its home court February 1st. The Golden Hurricane had the ball, leading by 9 with 3:44 to go when the Bearcats went on a 12-1 run.
Well, Cincy definitely stole this game in Tulsa, and it stung Tulsa for a while. And in the rematch in Cincinnati about a month ago, Cincinnati took care of business. It would be interesting to see if they overpower Tulsa again tonight, especially in the paint.
So Cincinnati, the higher-seeded team in the home white uniforms, throwback uniforms to their 1992 Final Four team, and Tulsa wearing the road black uniforms with the royal blue, old gold, and crimson trim, and we're underway in Hartford tonight. Last night, in their first-round game, the Golden Hurricane raced out to a 13-4 lead. Let's see if they can start with the same kind of intensity and shooting accuracy against this tough Bearcat defense.
Well, they really will spread you out. Mick Cronin was concerned about their ability to dribble penetrate into the gaps. Tulsa is not very big up front, but they are quick on the perimeter.
Seconds left on the shot clock. And nobody gets a shot up. Jaleel Wheeler went into the paint, got it blocked away. Here come the Bearcats to set their offense for the first time. Troy Copain is number 10. He is the point guard and the ball distributor. That's Kevin Johnson around and out. They'll get another chance. Kyle Washington knocked the rebound out. And the Bearcats reset. So Troy Copain leads the American Conference in assist-to-turnover ratio. He's 12 assists away from becoming the all-time assist leader at Cincinnati, a record he says he wants. He gets it into Washington. Left-hander too strong, but the ball bounced off 2 Tulsa players and went out of bounds. Mick Cronin, 45 years old, born in Cincinnati, son of a Cincinnati high school coach, about to lead his team to a 7th consecutive NCAA tournament bid.
They're a staple in the tournament, there's no doubt about it. He has done a terrific job with this program, but this may be his potentially best team as far as going somewhere in the tournament because of their ability to score.
Johnson with a nice floater from about the free throw line, and Kevin Johnson, the senior from Cincinnati.
That's one of the reasons they have that multitude of guys that can do things off the bounce and from the perimeter. Kevin Johnson, a great 2-guard.
Starting Taplin with the ball for Tulsa. Pat Burt from the corner. And the senior gets on the board early. He and Taplin, key players if Tulsa's going to have any success in this one.
Well, they both played very well last night. And when you talk about what Pat Burt has done over the last month, he has really struggled. That's why Tulsa has struggled.
And from long range, first three-pointer of the night. Junior Itu, 0, another one of the key cogs for Tulsa's team.
Cincinnati really getting after Tulsa on the perimeter.
Taplin with the ball, single digits on the shot clock. He'll pull up and pop. Doesn't get the friendly roll. Washington from just inside the three-point arc.
Well, we saw Kyle Washington miss that jump hook on the box, but he's probably more comfortable outside facing from the free throw line.
E2 fighting underneath the basket, got blocked. Gary Clark got a hand on it, 11 for the Bearcats. Copain shouting out instructions. Washington sets the screen. Copain drives, gets cut off. Jacob Evans with the ball. Off to Clark. No, excuse me, that was Copain. Clark quickly closing on E2. He gets it to Jaleel Wheeler. High glass. Nice move there by Jaleel Wheeler, the junior from Newark.
Well, Cincinnati did a good job of getting back on defense and forcing Tulsa to play against their set 5-on-5 in the half court, but Wheeler off the bounce, very creative to the rim.
Jacob Evans on Burt. High glass, won't go. Clark crashes the boards, but Wheeler comes up with it for Tulsa.
Nice isolation for Evans. He just couldn't finish the play.
And Washington will get called for an over-the-back foul for Cincinnati.
Well, the seniors, it's going to be a senior night because of the fact that if you lose, if you're Tulsa, your season may be over. And Cincinnati, they're going to be counting on their veterans as well. But Pat Burt and Troy Copain from the outside, vital players.
Martin Zigbano with a slip, but managed to hang on to the other foot. Clark got another hand in, deflected that ball away. 3-on-2 for the moment. Bearcats. Copain all the way to the iron, but it wouldn't fall. There's E2. Copain stepped in front of him, but didn't get position in time, and a foul on the Bearcats. Early going, American Conference quarterfinals in Hartford.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Frontier Communications, official sponsor of the American Athletic Conference, Angry Orchard Hard Cider, Branch Out, and Volkswagen.
Frontier Communications American Championship in Hartford just underway in the 2-7 matchup between Cincinnati and Tulsa. 27-4, the record for the Bearcats this season. Most regular season wins since 01-02. Yes, their defense is its normal stingy self, but their offense has picked up this year.
Well, the addition of Kyle Washington really has given them a lift because of the fact, alongside of Gary Clark up front, they have two legitimate face-up forwards that can go back down and around the box and get things done. Everyone knows that Evans, Johnson, Copain, terrific trio on the outside, and then Cumberland, freshman coming in off the bench, is also very, very potent offensively.
This tournament has not been friendly to Cincinnati in this conference's young history. They've been knocked out of it 3 straight times by the UConn Huskies. If UConn can find a way to get past Houston later tonight, as a foul is called underneath, and Cincinnati gets by Tulsa here, guess what matchup we get in the semifinals? UConn and Cincinnati, but there's a lot of ifs there. Kelvin Sampson's Houston Cougars and Frank Haith's Tulsa Golden Hurricane have a lot to say about that. So Sterling Taplin going to shoot free throws here for Tulsa.
That was a good drive by Taplin to the rim, and Cincinnati built that wall around the basket with the bodied up in. Frank Haith wanted a goaltend, but it was blocked below the rim.
Now I know when you watch Mick Cronin on television, you see that scowling, I'll call it sometimes stressed out, serious, stern face. But Mick, away from these moments in the game, is a very pleasant, gregarious guy. We were talking to him before the game over here in front of us, and I know you've known him for a long time and are friends with him, but very relaxed and fun guy to talk to.
Well, he has that great combination. I think that's why his players love playing for him. I mean, he's tough, he's hard-nosed, and that's the way his teams play, but also he gets the most out of them because he cares about them off the court as well.
Jacob Evans with the tray for Mick Cronin's Bearcats. Mick sometimes let's take it for granted, because all he's done at Cincinnati is win, year after year after year. And of course, he stepped in after the long shadow cast by Bob Huggins, but Mick has established his credentials as one of the best coaches in college basketball.
I think the administration has done a nice job as well, not taking him for granted, because they've given him some nice extensions because of the fact that he would be a hot commodity if they didn't.
Troy Copain with another three.
Tulsa's got some issues on defense if Cincinnati's going to space the floor and shoot it like that, because they have a lot of answers.
Corey Henderson into the game off the bench for Frank Haith in Tulsa, and a three for their very good sixth man.
Tulsa playing with some confidence on the offensive end of the floor. They've got to just tighten up their D here on the three-point line, and a little bit better communication off these pin-down screens.
Eight to shoot for the Bearcats. Evans drives. What a nice move for Jacob Evans, the sophomore from Baton Rouge.
That was a very good move at the end of the clock. He just dribbled from the left wing all the way to the other side of the rim, and no backside coverage for Tulsa.
Here's Burt. Now E2 drives the paint. Gets his own lost ball and puts it up and in. Junior E2, the leading scorer, leading three-point shooter, and the team leader in rebounds. The junior, originally from the Republic of Congo.
He was off balance. He was very fortunate. I thought he walked, but regained control of the ball in time just to knock it in.
Strong for three, and a whistle and a turnover. And there is Frank Haith. We talked about Mick Cronin. Frank Haith has won every place he's been. Now in his 13th season as your Division I head coach. And here at Tulsa, his third year as well, 58-39 after last night's win.
Well, he had his team ready to play last night. I mean, obviously losing the last two regular season games and one being to the team that had to play last night. It was very impressive. They came out, were focused, and played hard.
Jaleel Wheeler back on it. Clark gets fouled as he tries to spin his way through two Tulsa defenders. Gary Clark, one of these experienced leaders for this Cincinnati team. And he will now get some free throws to try and extend the lead from three.
Well, earlier, Alan, we saw Kyle Washington step to the foul line area and knock in that jumper. And Gary Clark can knock in that shot also from the top of the key. But there you saw what he does. Even more versatile as a forward, just off the bounce with the spin, the ability to get to the rim.
Duke and Carolina going on right now over on ESPN in the New York Life ACC tournament down in Brooklyn. Florida State Notre Dame later on to set the final that comes up Saturday at 9 Eastern on ESPN. There's some great basketball in Brooklyn. And of course the rubber match between Duke and Carolina. We will keep you posted on that one.
You may see that rematch number 4
somewhere down the road in
Arizona.
Yeah.
First weekend in April.
Yeah. Foul underneath, going to be called on TK Adogi into the game. 14 for Tulsa. Away from the ball, and so the turnover. Jaron Cumberland, 34, also into the game for Cincinnati.
Well, Adogi got into a little hand-to-hand combat down in the low box with Washington and just shoved him under the rim.
Both these teams, you know, as much conversation as there's been about SMU's six-man rotation and UCF with their limited available players, both these teams use one of the larger rotations in the conference in terms of numbers. Cumberland tried to get it inside to Washington, knocked away. And the attempted home run pass missed from Taplin, and a third turnover for the Golden Hurricane.
Both teams just trying to push the ball and rushing things a little bit. And Cumberland's normally a pretty good passer, and he's going to look to knock down that shot. He comes in, he's instant offense off the bench for Cincinnati.
Pat Bird back into the game, 11 for the Golden Hurricane. Washington outside to Copain. Back outside for 3 from Jacob Evans.
That time Tulsa extended the pressure, a little soft pressure, and they had the trap on the one side of the floor, and Cincinnati did a good job of breaking it, going middle, and then opposite to finding Evans.
Here's the Dogie, working on Washington. Left the shot short. Got there, got position. Had Washington backed in under the rim, but then left the shot short of the front.
Cincinnati does a great job of defending and contesting without fouling around the basket.
Jaron Cumberland for 3. The fabulous freshman on the all-conference rookie team this season. And the largest lead of the ball game now for the Bearcats.
He's got tremendous confidence for a freshman. He's always ready to shoot. He's locked in on the target, usually from deep.
So let's see if the Golden Hurricane can have an answer here in this segment of the game. Burt with the ball, defended closely by Evans. 7 to shoot. Way outside and got it for Corey Henderson. He almost shot that from Rhode Island.
Well, Mick Cronin is not happy, but defensively, I thought Cincinnati did a pretty good job. But that's the second 3 Henderson's made. They have to get up in him no matter how deep he is.
Corey Henderson struggled last night in Tulsa's game against Tulane, but he's been very good off the bench for them. Evans. Foul. As he got his own miss, he, Clark, Washington, all there under the rim, rebounding for Cincinnati.
Well, I don't know. Depending on which way you want to look at it, it's either a bad defense or terrific offense. So both teams lighting it up and feeling free to let it go from downtown. Even the American logo, way downtown.
Family on 3. 1, 2, 3. Family. Let's go, man. Let's go! Let's go!
Yeah, the energy of the NCAA tournament coming up, and it's almost time to fill out your brackets. We'll give you all the help you need with 24 hours of bracket coverage. It's ESPN's Tournament Challenge Marathon, starting Monday at 7 on ESPN. You up for pulling the all-night shift?
Wow, I'm still thinking about Matt Driscoll, the coach of North Florida.
Yeah. My vocal cords hurt just thinking about that.
They got all the way to the finals against Florida Gulf Coast and got beat, but it's going to be a great tournament, and there's still some interesting pieces moving around. The Atlantic 10, the Big 12, some upsets, and Dayton went down, Kansas went down.
Jacob Evans adding on to the lead for the Cincinnati Bearcats over the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, and the numbers that jump out at you so far in this game, besides Cincinnati growing its lead at the moment, are the three-point shooting percentages for both teams. Cincinnati has shot 71%, 5 of 7 from beyond the arc. Tulsa 3 of 5, 60%. If they can keep that up, we might put one of those 110 to 98 scores up for the final line of this one.
Both teams, I think, are playing pretty hard defensively. Just they're extending out on the perimeter and making some tough shots. And Mick Cronin was not happy at that last time out. He was not his friendly self that we were talking about earlier.
Jaleel Wheeler way over the top with a three-point attempt from the corner. Junior Itu saved it, but right to the Bearcats, who run with numbers. And there's the result. Jacob Evans.
Justin Jennifer, nice job pushing the ball up the floor with his head up, finding the open man.
Jacob Evans with 11 points already in this game, just past the midway point of the first half. There's Pat Bird. Pulls up. Didn't get the friendly roll. Justin Jennifer, 3 into the ball game for the Bearcats. He has the ball here. Cumberland, Will Magnay, 12 into the game, defending for Tulsa. Cumberland tried to drop it underneath But offensive foul called on the freshman.
Well, this is what Cincinnati likes to do, Alan. You know, we're talking about the three-point shooting, but really a good transition off the miss, filling the lanes, great outlet, and just spacing the floor, hitting ahead to the open man.
A thing of beauty when it works like that. If you're the team cheering for that team.
Well, that's how you draw it up, and you do a lot of that 5-on-0 every day in practice against no defense, just to kind of get reactions from your players, just to get them to run to open spots, space the court, and hit ahead without dribbling.
Trey Scott, 13 into the ball game for the Bearcats also. Burt just can't find any room to shoot. Will Magne takes the alley-oop from Taplin.
Well, that was a nice look, a little high-low from the top. Taplin had his head up. Magne, good low post position.
Big Australian gets on the board for the Golden Hurricane.
Played well last night. I thought he gave Frank Hayes some nice minutes off the bench.
Johnson, short on the three. Here comes Henderson. He's got no help and has to stop and wait for some more people in black shirts to catch up. Oof. Almost intercepted, and now intercepted. Cumberland, way off the mark. It's going to be a foul on Cincinnati as Magne was knocked to the floor. 9-point difference. The second seed Cincinnati Bearcats with an early advantage on Tulsa. The long ball has found its mark frequently in this opening part of the game.
Well, that's why Cincinnati is so difficult to defend. Not only do they have guys that can shoot the ball from the outside, they have the ability to space the floor for around one. They can go inside and then outside, and they do it out of transition or right out of their half-court offense.
And a look at our Acura Tournament Challenge. So SMU and Cincinnati both projected as 5 seeds by Joe Lenardi. Houston we'll see later against UConn, trying to find a way into the tournament. Right now, they're in that group that's just outside the cut line, according to Joe. That first 4 out, and that's a picture that's constantly moving. So a win over UConn tonight and a chance to perhaps match up with Cincinnati, a ranked team in the semifinals, would very much be of benefit to the Cougars.
Well, Kelvin Sampson's team is laying in the weeds, and no one's really talking about them, but they've had a very, very good season, and they're dangerous with Dotson and Gray.
You know, there's a lot of moving pieces, like you were just talking about, some of the interesting things going on. That's a 2 and it's short. Magne fought for the rebound but stepped on the end line. There's so many moving pieces that being in that first 4 out, by the time we get to Sunday, if Houston can win even over UConn tonight, yes, a win over Cincinnati and a shot at the conference final would certainly help, but there's enough possibilities out there to keep it interesting.
Oh, absolutely. And, much as we love Joey Brackets, we also understand that, Houston, if I'm Houston's coach, it's Kelvin Sampson, I'm telling my team, hey, we just got to win and we're in. Yep.
Trey Scott with a good fight under the offensive glass for Cincinnati.
Very good effort by Scott. You can just see his length, his athleticism, the freshman, wiry at the rim.
6'8", 225-pounder from Georgia. Another one of the young players coming along from Mick Cronin's team that goes along with the experienced leadership they have. 10 to shoot. Foul, offensive foul, called on Sterling Taplin.
This is also what makes Cincinnati so good, as they bring in this length off the bench, and the second effort and the third effort, just the perseverance at the rim by Scott.
Cincinnati, third in the conference in rebounding margin, averages a plus 4.6 in each game. So far in this one, our plus 5 over the Golden Hurricane. Ball knocked away. I believe that was Martin Tigbanu, one who got a finger in on it. Last 4 trips down the court for the Golden Hurricane. They've turned the ball over 3 times. E2 calls for the ball. He's up against Copain. Tough pass. thrown off the mark towards Taplin in the corner. Taplin has to just throw it away, trying to save it.
Well, that was caused just by the harassment of Cincinnati's half-court defense. They were up in the face of the dribbler, and on the weak side, just their length overplaying. Good help side as well.
So Cincinnati's ball up 9, 6 to go in this first half. Houston and UConn later. Alan Bestwick, Tim Welsh, and our ESPN college basketball crew with you at the XL Center, downtown Hartford. Quarterfinal game in the American, third one of the day. Copain couldn't get that one to go, and Tulsa gets the chance to try and close the gap. There's Corey Henderson. Taplin, what a friendly bounce. Rim, glass, and in.
Cincinnati didn't do a great job of rotating on that ball screen at the top, and they left Taplin wide open.
From the corner, that one off the mark. That was Quadri Moore into the game, 0 for the Bearcats. Pat Bird, short.
Both teams taking a lot of quick jumpers.
Troy Copain, how about that body control?
Well, great body control. They ran the isolation play for him 2 possessions ago, and he didn't finish at the rim, and that was probably even more difficult play in traffic for Copain.
Whistle and a foul, and I believe that's going to be on Quadri Moore, and indeed it is, his first. So the big 6'8" junior picks up the personal, and a line change for Cincinnati, 3 in, 3 out, and 2 in, 2 out for the Golden Hurricane. We can make the hockey analogy in this building because the New York Rangers American Hockey League team plays here, and there is ice down under the basketball floor. Trust me, by the end of a doubleheader night, we feel it on the bottoms of our feet.
Well, Tulsa doing a good job. I think Frank Haith is just kind of rotating guys in and out, obviously playing a game last night, trying to keep the energy up, trying to hang around in this game. You know, they haven't been that efficient offensively, but their defense has been pretty good. And at times, though, Cincinnati has shot a little bit too quickly in the half court.
10-point gap. Bearcats beat the Golden Hurricane by 20 in the second of their 2 games. Underneath and fouled as Gary Clark tried to go up with it. And that's going to be Martin Zigbanu who got him on the arm. And Clark will be shooting free throws for the Bearcats.
I think Mick Cronin got a little tired of all those jumpers, so he called a set play from the bench to isolate Clark on the box, and he created some good space down low, and they found him with the angle to the rim.
We're being told a fun story about Gary Clark. It was in the last practice before last year's American Conference tournament that Clark turned an ankle, and he was just basically a shell of himself in that tournament and in their one NCAA tournament game a year ago. So the kind of running joke around the Bearcats practices, particularly yesterday, was, don't anybody turn an ankle, please. Something that was successfully navigated.
It's funny to you and I. It's not funny to that guy, Mick Cronin.
You know. Taplin had the ball knocked out of his hands, out of bounds, no foul, but the Golden Hurricane keep the ball with 17 to shoot.
We have to be really strong with the basketball, and Tulsa has been pretty good attacking the rim, but Cincinnati's help comes and they close the door quickly.
Magnay gets the inbounds pass, gets the bucket, and gets fouled by Jacob Evans.
Well, Mick Cronin is livid because that's a play they went over in shoot around and in practice over and over and over, and they played Tulsa twice, and this is just a simple little slip to the basket by Magnay, and Cincinnati turns their head in, and Magnay finishes at the rack.
So Mick having the conversation with Evans in front of the bench, while with Clark in front of the bench, while Evans goes to the bench.
Well, Frank Haith, when he came over to the table last night after the Tulane game, he mentioned just we're young. And he kind of smiled and said we wanted the effort, but we're a young team, and they are. And the perfect example of that is Magnay. What he looks like tonight and last night compared to maybe 6 weeks ago. Just really improving, taking advantage of that playing time and gaining confidence on the floor.
Out defending on Cumberland here. Inside to Washington. He tried to feed it down low, scramble for the ball, and that's going to be tied up. And it will stay with the Bearcats. Bodies on the floor, Clark, Magnay, Who else was that getting up out of the pile? Taplin? Well, the shots from outside have been the story of this one so far, even from way outside.
Back in studio alongside Adrian Branch, I'm Brendan Fitzgerald. Coming up on the Audi halftime report, we check in on Duke, Carolina in progress in Brooklyn, and a complete bracket update from the American Conference. Cincinnati's up by 8.
Troy Copain, no turnovers but 4 assists.
All right, Alan, Tim, we'll see you guys in a few minutes.
All right, Brendan, thanks. And so there is a look at the Frontier Communications America Championship bracket. SMU, UCF already through. Houston and UConn later tonight. Cincinnati trying to grab a spot in the conference semifinals. Championship game Sunday, 3:15 on ESPN. So Tulsa trying to hang around with Cincinnati. Will Magnay giving the Golden Hurricanes some really good minutes in this one, just as he did last night for Frank Haith and company.
We saw those flurry of threes to open the game, but since then both teams have tightened up the D on the perimeter and done a good job also protecting the paint.
Cumberland steps away and drains the 2. They only had 6 to shoot when they inbounded, and they got 2 out of it.
Well, that was a real good move by Cumberland. He just created some space off the bounce, a little bump on Burt in the fadeaway.
Pat Burt inside of 10 to shoot. Clark cuts him off. Burt spins around. Tripped over Clark's leg, went to the floor, and a turnover, the 9th one of the ball game for Tulsa.
Well, that's not good offense by Burt, but this is good offense and creativity by a freshman and an understanding of where you are in the shot clock and just the pull-up after the fadeaway.
Well, Jaron Cumberland was a highly recruited young man, but Mick Cronin got the Wilmington, Ohio native to stay in Ohio and come to the Bearcats program. And he has been what Cincinnati envisioned he would be for them, and he's just a freshman.
It's always good to have guys that can knock down shots, and Cincinnati's kind of changed the recruiting in the last couple of years, and Mick wants those offensive players like Cumberland.
Copain with the ball, now 10 to shoot for the Bearcats. Kevin Johnson cut off, and he'll take an extra step and turn the ball over.
Getting back to the recruiting philosophy, obviously they're going to still recruit the long athletes that can defend, but he's gone more to the offensive side of the basketball. He spent a lot of time talking to Mike Gray over the last couple of years on offensive philosophy and what Notre Dame does, kind of a 4-out type of offense where 4 guys can shoot the 3.
Henderson, after Taplin was able to break the Bearcat pressure. You know, it's part of the evolution of coaching, right? Trends change, styles change, athletes change, and evaluating what you're doing and seeing what's working and what's not, being able to adjust to that, that's the mark of coaching.
Absolutely, and understanding that the three-point line is such a great weapon. More guys you have on the floor that can attack from the outside with a combination of being able to defend, that's how you win.
Washington with the big left hook with just 3 left on the shot clock.
Again, that's a killer for Tulsa because they played good defense once again, but just let Washington get a little too deep on a low post.
Look at the shooting numbers. Cincinnati aggressive defending outside the 3-point arc. Now 7 to shoot. Nick Bono with no place to go. The double team comes. He's cut off by Washington. And they won't get a shot off. Cincinnati's defense rises to the occasion again.
Here again at the end of the clock for Cincinnati, just a good recognition of where they were on the floor. And look, Washington does a nice job, but he's at the high post. He makes himself big on the box. And then down low, E2 doesn't leave his feet to contest.
So a 10-point lead and the ball with 1.5 minutes to go in this first half for the Bearcats. Johnson's shot short, foul on the floor in the fight for the rebound. That should be on Junior E2, and is. That is his first. And so free throws coming for Kyle Washington. Washington, a transfer from NC State, leads the American Conference in field goal percentage. 7th in the league in blocks per game, made second team all-conference. Given as good as the Bearcats have been all season long, a lot of folks were kind of shocked that no Cincinnati player was named first team all-conference.
Well, the thing about Washington is when he came to Cincinnati, he had some lessons to learn to play from Mick Cronin. And first one was, that's okay if you can want to shoot the ball from the outside, but you better go down below and into the paint and do some work down there as well.
So with the Washington free throws, it's the largest lead of the ball game again now for the Bearcats. Taplet inside, Jaleel Wheeler got concerned because Washington was coming over, altered his shot, and missed it.
Well, Cincinnati was very fortunate there. They were in a 2-3 zone, but they never got organized on their shifts.
Washington again, that one too strong. Offensive rebound attempts, not successful. Here's Henderson, end-to-end, swatted away by Gary Clark, charging back on defense.
Give Henderson an A for effort and heart, because he's going into the meat and teeth of the Cincinnati defense, and that was being prepared to be blocked by 2 Bearcats.
So Clark, his second block of the night. Too strong from the corner was Pat Bird. Johnson for 3. And timeout, Tulsa. Down by 15 with half a minute to go. A 7-0 run for Cincinnati.
Cincinnati puts it to you. They keep the pressure on. This is the Cincinnati we talked about before the game. They keep coming at you offensively, inside, transition, and from the perimeter.
Well, Cincinnati, known for their defense. Their offense has improved this season. Points per game up, yes. But watch the defensive effort and energy on some of these plays for the Bearcats, and then watch how they're scoring tonight.
Well, they score in a lot of different ways with a lot of different guys, and that's a combination for success. When you have that great tough defense, you know, coming in off the bench, Cumberland creates from the perimeter. Washington's made jumpers. Gary Clark has gone inside and made some nice moves off the bounce. Johnson, Copain, and Evans have all knocked down shots from the outside, so that all leads up to a 15-point lead. And Tulsa right now scuffling a little bit because Cincinnati is on their game, and Cincinnati's superior size at every position is really hurting Tulsa.
8 different players have scored in this first half for the Bearcats. Other thing that's hurting Tulsa, remember they started out really hot from beyond the arc. That has cooled considerably. Again, partly a result of the Bearcat defense.
There's no doubt about it. Here Cincinnati in this possession, it looks like they're going to be show a little man at the top and maybe go zone at the end of the clock.
Taplet off the Magne screen, back to Magne, wouldn't go. 5 seconds left. Copain, around and out. And he leaps at what the possibilities were. Well, there's a 15-point lead for the Bearcats at the end of the first half.
Well, they came here ready and focused. They're on a mission. They showed it in the first half.
Tulsa got some regrouping to do in the locker room before we start the second half. And we'll take a look at what else is going on around college basketball with our halftime report. Here's Brendan Fitzgerald. Welcome back to Champ Week. You're watching the Frontier Communications American Championship. From the XL Center in downtown Hartford, the 2-seed Cincinnati with a 15-point lead on the 7-seed Tulsa in this quarterfinal matchup. Later on tonight, we'll get the 3-seed Houston for the first time in the tournament. They'll take on UConn for a spot in the semis. SMU and UCF setting up a matchup tomorrow with wins earlier today. Alan Bestwick here with Coach Tim Welsh. Both teams started out this game really raining down the three-point shots. Tulsa cooled off a little bit. The Bearcats did not.
Well, Cincinnati pushed the pace early and often, spacing the court. They've got a numerous amount of shooters out on the perimeter, and they shared the basketball. They spread the wealth. Troy Copain's halfway to a triple-double. Jacob Evans was on fire as well. And they let Tulsa loose early, but then they got up in Tulsa, created some turnovers, and then they pushed the ball in transition, got easy baskets, and then kept looking for that open three.
Look at some of the numbers on the first half. And that's 6 for 12 shooting for Cincinnati. That's going to be hard to top if you don't slow it down a little bit. Another thing was the rebounding margin. Just Cincinnati really good under both the offensive and defensive glass. Jacob Evans has almost as many points as all 5 Tulsa starters combined.
Well, Tulsa, again, with the 10 turnovers, that was an issue because Cincinnati just swarmed the basketball. Tulsa wants to get to the rim with their quick guards on the perimeter, but once they got into the paint, Cincinnati collapsed, helped, and shut the door.
See if the Golden Hurricane can get on a run here to start this second half and keep the hopes of their seniors for a continued season alive. They go right underneath, and a foul will be called as Junior Itu tried to go up with the ball. I believe that was Kyle Washington that got tagged for the foul.
Well, that was good recognition by Tulsa coming out of the half of seeing that Cincinnati went into the 2-3 zone, and Junior Itu kind of slipped right behind the backside of the defense. You know, the defense of the back line of a zone has to understand. You have to know where the ball is, but your head has to be on a swivel and look for cutters.
Itu with just 2 points in this game so far. He averages 12.8. He is also 4th in the American Conference in made free throws. And 1 of 2 there for the junior. So the Bearcats, who had the 3-ball going from the start, who had the defensive pressure, the ball movement. There's Kevin Johnson, that one around and out. Kyle Washington with the glass work. That pays off.
Tulsa built the wall, but Washington went right over the top of it. Again, the sizes of Cincinnati up front problematic.
Itu. 2 white shirts around him, but he still gets the spin around shot off the glass.
Found good space around the basket and was able to find a way to get an angle to the rim.
So 2 Tulsa offensive possessions, and they've gone to Itu in deep on both. Obviously something that we're going to look for and see how Cincinnati adjusts to it. How about that left hook again from Washington?
These bigs must have something going on with each other because neither of them are playing defense, and both teams going right inside.
Itu for a 3rd consecutive possession. This time he picks and pops. Pulls up and pops.
I'll tell you one thing, Mick Cronin's not going to stand for this 2-3 zone much longer because Tulsa's having their way. First inside and right at the foul line to Itu.
Washington on Itu again. He'll draw the foul.
You got 2 really good post players in Kyle Washington and Junior Itu, and both teams are taking advantage of good spacing and presenting themselves around the basket. Cincinnati in the 2-3, they went inside, and then Washington has that nice soft touch with the jump hook right in the middle of the lane.
First and 2 good for Washington. That will be his 11th point of the game. Washington had his minutes limited a little bit in the regular season finale last Sunday up in Stores against UConn by a little nicked up ankle, but has looked in great form here tonight in Hartford. 16-point lead for the Bearcats. Again, Itu is the man. He won't get the bucket, but he'll draw the foul. That one on Gary Clark, I believe. And yes, it is.
Well, it's a good sign for Tulsa. The junior Itu is active because when he is aggressive offensively, you know what he can do from the perimeter. He likes to step out to almost the 3-point line, and he can put the ball on the floor. But started the second half, he's been flash posting down to the low box, the short corner, the foul line area, and Cincinnati has to do a better job of being aware where he is.
Ask you this, I don't remember calling Itu's name a whole ton in the first half. Get your best player involved when you need something big to happen, right?
Well, there's no doubt about it. And, he's taking advantage a little bit that Cincinnati is in the zone and they're not paying attention to him. But give him a lot of credit. He is moving without the basketball.
E2 and Washington are the only two players to have scored in this second half so far. Here's Copain. Magne with the block. Knocked out of bounds. Bearcat ball, 15 to go.
I like the combination of Magne and E2. They're working well together, especially being very physical defensively. They see Magne moving his feet. Good timing.
Magne now on Washington defensively. Here's Clark. 5 to shoot. Works on E2 and gets the bucket off the glass.
E2 is in good position to take the charge, but he kind of backed up and Clark stayed with the play. You see that great touch off the window.
He tried a little head bob and didn't get the foul call with it. Magne outside to a wide open Burke. Off the mark for 3. Long rebound to Copain. Cincinnati, the 2nd seed, trying to advance on into the semifinals tomorrow from outside. Jacob Evans with a 3.
Well, that is really good offense. Secondary break, pushing the ball up the court, going down the left side, right back to the top, swinging it before Tulsa can adjust on the weak side.
And there you see, largest lead. It's up to 20. E2 is going to get fouled on the floor by Kevin Johnson.
Look at Troy Copain here, Alan. He has his head up in transition, and they space the floor. They do a nice job. They swing it to the left. Good ball fake by Johnson, and a quick ball reversal against the zone before they can shift.
Copain started the night 12 assists shy of the Cincinnati all-time record, a record he said in an interview that their Bearcats fine radio host Dan Hoard did with him the other day that he wanted. Well, he's got 5 tonight. Inside, Jaleel Wheeler in the tall trees and gets it to go.
Tulsa's getting better movement away from the ball this half, and they can just tighten up their defense. They can creep back into this game, but Cincinnati's been very efficient on this end of the floor.
Washington with the touch. Inside with the hook, outside with the nice jumper. Kyle Washington having a night for the Bearcats.
Well, the balance to his game is what Mick Cronin likes tonight. There's no doubt about it, because he has done his work inside, and then he likes to step outside and get a little taste from the perimeter, which he can deliver.
Here working outside to Taplin. That's short. E2, nice energy on the rebound. And intercepted. Tried to get it to Burt in the corner, picked off. Here comes Clark. Carried that one too far in, didn't get a foul call.
This is a little off balance, but give Tulsa credit. They got back in deep on D.
Wheeler didn't pull the trigger. E2 does from 3. That one's short. Straight into the hands of Evans. Drives baseline and 1 as he gets the foul called on Magne.
That was big time right there. That was a weight room delivery by Troy Copain and Kyle Washington. No weight room needed here. Just a feathery touch for the big lefty. Oh, power for Troy.
Second seed Cincinnati ranked 15th in the country with a big lead on Tulsa. Troy Copain has led the way.
Well, he has been as steady as a rock over his career for Mick Cronin, and efficient and improving player from year to year. Every year you see his game develop, and he is just a point guard that understands the pace of the game, understands who needs the basketball in crunch time, and can deliver himself when needed be.
Troy Copain playing in his 133rd game for the Bearcats, looking for his 100th win.
A lot of really good players on that list. And Sean Kilpatrick, Steve Logan, and company, and a long storied history of this program. And Troy Copain has just carried the torch, and it's not easy playing for Mick Cronin when you're a freshman point guard, but he's grown into the role and gained his trust over the years of that can run the team in an efficient way.
And you know, the other thing is, it seems like he's had a great number of clutch game-winning shots over the course of his career too, including some this year.
Absolutely. Well, you know the ball is going to be in his hands, and that's, again, that goes with Mick's trust that he's going to make the right decision at the end of the game.
Example, that game February 1st in Tulsa when the Bearcats had to rally from behind. Who made the winning shot with 4 seconds to go? Troy Copain, Captain Clutch. Foul underneath on the floor. Believe that's going to be Nasir Brooks, who gets tagged for it for the Bearcats, and indeed it is. The big 6'11", 240-pound freshman out of Philadelphia.
Brooks was trying to get a little low post position down on the short baseline area, and he's an important player for Cincinnati moving forward in the NCAA tournament. Gives him some nice length defensively off the bench.
He's a big boy. Matched up against Will Magnay here in this defensive set. And a steal. And a run out. And a finish from Jacob Evans.
Cincinnati is clicking on all cylinders right now. Team defense, pressure on the basketball, communicating, feeling confident.
Outside, Jaleel Wheeler takes it to the rim.
Nice take by Wheeler on that baseline. Usually you don't get all the way from the three-point line of the rim against Cincinnati. They turn their head on the weak side, and Wheeler pounded it home.
Johnson. It's a three, it wouldn't go. Rebound wouldn't go for Brooks, and out of bounds, and a turnover.
You can't be loose with the basketball against Cincinnati's defense. And here, harassment at the baseline area, and then great anticipation by Evans in transition, and then Wheeler just taking it all the way home on the baseline.
Wheeler, an interesting story. Comes from Newark, New Jersey. Out of high school, he went to work as a sanitation worker and started playing some AAU ball and played in a couple of non-exempt tournaments. Well, it cost him some eligibility and playing time at the beginning of this season for Tulsa, but the trade-off for that was it was playing in those tournaments that got him noticed by the junior college that he went to, that eventually got him noticed by Frank Haith and company.
It's a nice road, because it tells you there's always opportunity out there, and he was a nice player. He had a good season, and he will grow into a more comfortable role next year.
Junior out of, again, Newark, New Jersey. So the foul on Nasir Brooks for Cincinnati quickly picks up a second. And 13 minutes to go, and there is the scoreline difference. Bearcats with a sizable lead.
Cincinnati's doing a very good job defensively of keeping Tulsa's guards out of the lane, because that's what they want to do. They want to dribble, penetrate, and try to create off the bounce. And they're not over-pressuring out on the perimeter. They're using their length to their advantage.
E2 on the bench. TK Adogi in the game. Got the rebound there, but it went through his hands.
Again, that was good defense by Evans. He closed out on the baseline to create a difficult shot.
Patient with their offense, too. Three to shoot. Copain off the mark. Offensive rebound. And a putback. Jaron Cumberland.
He usually spends his time out on the perimeter and doesn't go in there with the trees very often, but he's got the big body to finish plays in traffic. That time, good second effort on the glass.
That's Henderson for three. Corey Henderson for the Golden Hurricane.
Trading of baskets going on right now. Tulsa loosening up a little bit on the offensive end, but tighten up that back line. They're very small right now. They're playing this zone. They need their guards to help them on the glass.
nice bucket. Evans up to 18 on the night. The sophomore from Baton Rouge, tournament ready.
Just the length of Evans. He has those long arms, and at 6'6", he just shot right over the top of Tulsa's guards.
Copain off the referee and didn't finish. And a foul as Evans wound up leaning into the Tulsa rebounder. And we get to the under 12 timeout. Houston and UConn are in the building. They play the last of the day's quarterfinals next. Up next, we talk a little Houston and UConn and what to look for in tonight's nightcap. There is the bracket in the Frontier Communications American Men's Basketball Championship. Cincinnati, Tulsa playing for the third of 4 spots in the semis. UConn and Houston coming up next. Rodney Purvis led UConn through their opening round win last night.
Well, they needed every minute of Rodney Purvis's effort because he not only made plays from the perimeter, but he drove it hard to the rim. And tonight they're going to need that because the dynamic duo of Damian Dotson and Rod Gray, they are going to do one thing. They are going to go get buckets for Kelvin Sampson. They're going to get in their pick and roll game. And last night, UConn had some difficulty guarding USF at the top in their pick and roll game. So we'll see what type of adjustments UConn makes tonight.
2 of the top 4 points per game scorers in the American Conference this season are those 2 players, Gray and Dotson, for the Houston Cougars. So Houston and UConn coming up next. Of course, Houston in that bubble. Joe Lunardi has them as one of the first 4 teams out of the NCAA tournament. Tonight certainly a must-win for the Cougars, I think, to remain under consideration. And then a shot at what looks like Cincinnati in the semis tomorrow.
I'd like to say nice move by Henderson, but don't blink. Cincinnati right back at you with Cumberland in transition.
Very impressive. So earlier in the season, a lot of folks would talk about the Bearcats as being a team you don't want to meet in the NCAA tournament. Then it seemed like when Cincinnati lost that game to SMU and then lost to UCF down the stretch in conference play as a foul called, some of that talk cooled off. But this team is tournament built, and they certainly appear to be at peak form in this game tonight.
Well, it's a long season, and they were 27-4, and so they navigated the trails of the American Conference and their non-conference very, very nicely. And listen, Cincinnati, you see tonight, you look at their weapons, and they are built to last. And you talk about the veteran backcourt and Copain and Johnson, the seniors, along with Clark, who's played in a lot of games and in the NCAA tournament, and the emergence of Jacob Evans, and now you add in Kyle Washington, another guy that can score. I mean, that has been their issue in the past in the NCAA tournament, you know, playing games in the 50s.
Yep.
But Cincinnati doesn't play games in the 50s anymore. They're going to be up in the 70s. They had that hiccup against UCF, but you can see right now they're playing very good basketball.
Absolutely. Of course, these Bearcat seniors, too. Right? I mean, the team's been to the NCAA tournament for 6 straight years, so these seniors have 3 years worth of NCAA tournament experience with them.
And again, it's all matchups. We all know that. And Mick Cronin and I were talking about it in the pregame. You were here, and just it's an understanding of who you're going to be playing against. And you may have one of those nights where, you know, the matchup is not favorable for you. Maybe some team has big size and can match up to your front line, and then you're going to have to make some shots from the perimeter, but they have a lot of guys that can do that.
Now, the Bearcats, one of 2 teams forecast to be in the field of 68, no matter the outcome of this weekend. SMU, the other. The Mustangs, 12th ranked in the AP poll this week. Cincinnati, 15th ranked.
Well, the other part of that, Alan, is that, you know, Houston has Dotson and Gray,
Yep.
and then they have to score for Houston to win most nights. But if one of Cincinnati's perimeter players has an off night, I mean, they have other guys that are going to step up because they have good balance out there on the floor. So they don't need somebody to go get 18, 20 every night. And I think that's why they're going to be a tough out in the tournament.
Banu. That was persistent. Defender in front of him, a defender poking at the ball, and he still spun around and made the bucket for Tulsa.
Well, we talked a lot about Igbano last night, and Frank Haith has a keeper, and Igbano and Magne, 2 good-looking freshmen up front.
Banu, one of the team leaders, according to Frank Haith, said that's both a plus and a minus. A plus that Igbano has shown himself to be that much of a leader, a minus that a freshman is one of your locker room leaders. There's Kyle Washington again with that left-hand floater.
No, that's just bad defense by Tulsa, though, letting him go to his left. They've got to turn him back over to the other hand and give some help.
So 14 on the night for Washington. There's Igbanu double team. Gets the ball outside, and the shot goes for Sterling Taplin.
Did a nice job of doubling Igbanu down on the box, but no rotation on the perimeter.
10 tonight for Taplin. That's just his second made three, and his second made field goal. All his other damage have come from the free throw line. Five to shoot. Clark all the way into the paint. Rebound, Washington, fouled, and it goes.
That's just a crusher for Tulsa, just that power inside. And again, Kyle Washington, not only the length and the ability to step out on the perimeter and make things happen, here off his left hand, that soft touch in the lane, they have to give more support. And then Clark makes a nice move all the way to the rim, but see, just that power, that ability to get rebounds out of his area. Kyle Washington.
16 points. Perfect from the free throw line so far. Don't miss, because I don't want people to be tweeting me about the announcer jinx. And look at the number. Bearcats have put 70 up, and we've got 8 minutes to go in the ball game still. What a show tonight by the second seed in this tournament. Magnay blocked. Clark with another one. Cumberland couldn't get the basket, but will shoot free throws for Cincinnati. What an offensive show by the 15th ranked Bearcats.
They are off and running. The defensive-minded Bearcats have a little offense cooking tonight in Hartford.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Frontier Communications, official sponsor of the American Athletic Conference, and One-A-Day Men's and Women's.
Brennan Fitzgerald back in studio with an update from the ACC tournament. Duke taking on North Carolina. Justin Jackson cutting to the basket and gets 2 of his 12. Right now it's an 8-point lead for the Tar Heels over on ESPN. Alan, back to you.
All right, Brendan, thanks. Quick reminder about Selection Sunday, 7 Eastern, bracketology presented by Allstate with Reese, Jay Williams, Jay Billis, Seth Greenberg, Dickie V, and a host of our college hoop experts. Breakdowns of each region. Sports Center with SVP starts it off at 5:15 on ESPN with the reveal of the men's field of 68 as the teams are announced. That's on Selection Sunday. No doubt the Cincinnati Bearcats, one of the 68. Question is, will they have the automatic bid as winners of the American Conference Tournament or an at-large selection into the field of 68?
Well, the committee has a very, very difficult decision with some of these teams because to me they all look alike, and a lot of those teams that are on the cut line, and I think a team that absolutely should be considered is Houston. We'll see how they perform tonight. If they can put on a good performance in this tournament, they'll be right in the mix.
Taplin off the mark with the 3, and Justin Jennifer gets the rebound for the Bearcats. We're talking about resume before for Cincinnati briefly, and something that stands out to me when you look at Cincinnati, right? They're 27-4 this season. Well, think about the 4 games that they lost and who they were. And something really jumps out to you is no bad losses. They lost in November to Rhode Island in a neutral site game, and at the time, Rhode Island was a top 25 ranked team and still contending for a spot in the tournament. They lost in December at Butler as Magnay draws the foul. They lost in February at SMU. And then that one road game late February at UCF, a much improved team over what they were at the start of the season.
There's no doubt about it. That's why they're probably going to be a 5 seed or better. And, they consistency. That's been the label on this team for Mick Cronin. And in the past, we've talked about it. They've had periods of seasons where they've gone into cold droughts offensively, but this team, as you see, we've talked about it tonight, they have so much balance in not only numbers balance, but the way they score, inside, outside, transition, they share the ball, they've got good depth off the bench and length defensively off the bench. I like when they bring the bigs in too, just to kind of change the game shot blocking wise in the middle of the floor.
The Bearcats have had all the answers tonight, both offensively and defensively. And that 22-point lead from what was a close game in its opening minutes. Kyle Washington again with the left hand spin around hook.
It's kind of a weird move he makes. You know, he gets spinning in the lane and doesn't really eye the target till right on release, but he's got such a great touch and that innate ability just to finish in traffic.
High scorer in the game. He's got 21. His career high is 27. Igbanu works through a double team and will get a chance to make it a three-point play.
The interesting part of Kyle Washington's game is that you know where he's going. He's going with his left, but even when you try to deny that left, as Magna here gets up on his left hand, but he fakes back to his right and then has that spin hook right over the top. And then down the other end, this is a nice response by Igbanu.
So the third foul on Gary Clark. The freshman Igbanu, just a 59% free throw shooter during the season, gets the extra there. Almost picked off on the inbounds by Taplin. Jennifer will come back out and reset with the help of Cumberland. To shoot. Magne with the good hands and on the floor and still fighting for it. And that will be a shot clock expiration before the ball could be tied up. So other conference tournament action going on, all culminating towards a huge Saturday with tickets being punched. There's the matchup that will be played out currently tonight. TCU, Iowa State leading that one big, then Kansas State and West Virginia to set the field for the Phillips 66 Big 12 Championship game Saturday at 6 Eastern on ESPN. Tim, I know you spent your season with a weekday coverage of the Big 12. West Virginia now is the top seed left in that tournament.
Well, TCU looks like they're going down tonight, and
yes,
you know, after that win over Kansas, they're going to be anxious, thinking about if they're going to get in. Right now, Kansas State, though, is in a pretty good position. If they could win tonight over West Virginia, I think they're in great straits for Selection Sunday, but it won't be easy because West Virginia just comes at you in waves, and Kansas State has very good guards. I think they'll be able to handle the pressure, but it'll be interesting to see. They split during the regular season.
Not going to know where to look Saturday. All those championships being decided, plus the semifinals here.
I'll tell you what, Alan, talking about the Big 12 is Iowa State is playing quietly very good basketball right now. They have a lot of veterans and one of the best point guards in the country in Monte Morris, and they are now starting to click. Their forwards are getting involved more in the offense, and they're a team that could make a deep run. They're undersized, but when you have guards that can really get it up and go like Iowa State, you can make a long run depending again on the matchups.
While we're watching this, Villanova just escaped from Seton Hall. 2-point win, last seconds by Villanova. And Indiana down 10 to Wisconsin with just a couple of seconds left in that game. And Indiana, one of those teams that Joe Lunardi said that without a win might be in some trouble. Georgia lost today, Vanderbilt lost today. And a 2 there from Jacob Evans.
Jacob Evans back in the game, but Troy Copain still back on the, you know, he's back in the game. I just thought maybe Nick Cronin was going to give him a little bit rest, but he's keeping his veterans in the game just to make sure they close this out properly.
Wheeler, nice move. Got around Cumberland, trying to close on him quickly, and Jaleel Wheeler gets the bucket for the Golden Hurricane.
Well, the one thing I will say about Tulsa tonight, and they have performed okay, but Cincinnati's performed at a higher level is that Tulsa's playing very hard. And they're coming at Cincinnati. They're still attacking. They're trying to change defenses. They're trying to press a little bit. So they're not going down without a fight. And they're overmatched, absolutely, up front especially. But they're playing very hard.
There's Henderson. And he got it. Corey Henderson has 15 on the night, and you know, he didn't start the ball game, so a very nice performance by the junior. And something for Frank Haith to look forward to. You know, the season-long storyline for Tulsa has been the complete turnover of the roster for this year. 9 new players and only 2 returning. One of those 2 a senior. And he's learned something about his young players this year, and they've gotten a lot of experience that will set the Tulsa program up for the beginning of next season. But it's a big lead for the Bearcats, trying to set up a semifinal matchup here in Hartford.
Brendan Fitzgerald studio update. Stop me if you've heard this before. Big drama in the Big East tournament at Madison Square Garden. Villanova's down 1 to Seton Hall. Final 10 seconds. Look at Josh Hart on the follow and the foul. He gets 3 the old-fashioned way. Villanova escapes with a 2-point win over the Pirates. Guys, back to you.
Little drama there in the Garden. Cincinnati not having any drama with Tulsa now, but they've had their share of drama in this American Conference tournament, mostly at the hands of the UConn Huskies.
Well, UConn has found a way in this tournament to be magical, and it was beyond magical in Orlando.
Depending on whose press release you read, that was either 60, 65, or 70 feet at the end of the third
Or
overtime
you
last
could ask
year.
Mick Cronin. He said it shouldn't have been good. He said the clock didn't start on time, but we won't bring that up to him tonight because that's in the past, and it's a new year, and we may see that matchup again tomorrow, but Calvin Sampson's squad will have a lot to say about that tonight, and interesting to see how they play. Last year was their first year on the big stage where they had a good season and
second seed.
Right, exactly, and they got beat in the first game. So we'll see how they react tonight. I have a feeling they're going to play very well. UConn, though, survived last night, and really I think tonight will depend on Rodney Purvis if he can be in the attack mode again offensively. And if UConn's bigs can play better, they need to get more out of Kenton Facey and Amita Brima. They just need to obviously not go get 12, 14 points. That's not who they are, but they have to play tougher on the interior against Houston.
UConn and Houston have squared off twice this season. The first was the first game of conference play, December 28th here, when the Huskies played without Jalen Adams and were beaten badly by the Cougars. But in the rematch that happened down in Houston just a few weeks ago, UConn sprinted out to a 12-point lead, and only because they went, 2 for 16 to start the second half, were the Cougars able to come back and rally past them, and it wound up being a close game at the end. But the Huskies played much better in their second go-round with Adams than they did in the first without. And of course now Houston will have Devin Davis in the game tonight, that Kelvin Sampson has spoken frequently about being such a big factor for his team. So should be an interesting one. Coming up next, BPI says it's going to be a pretty close game, and that follows the conclusion of this Cincinnati-Tulsa game in just a couple more minutes of playing time. Whistle and a foul. So for Tulsa, if in fact the season does end tonight, it will end the Golden Hurricane playing career of Pat Burt. Now on the bench. Had a terrific year last year, getting adjusted to an already existing rotation. He was junior college transfer, came in, they had that team with longtime players. It took about a half a season for he and the others to adjust to each other. Had a phenomenal conference season a year ago. Expected to carry a lot of the load by Frank Haith this season. Has struggled a little more than he or the team perhaps expected or wanted. But Burt back into the game now, looking to perhaps see the final moments of his Tulsa playing career on the court.
Well, it's a nice gesture by Frank putting him back in this game. But I think Frank Haith has a lot to look forward to. They're going to keep recruiting, obviously, but I really like those bigs. And you have Magne, you have Igbano, Carita's a pretty good player. Doki's a junior. You got Atson. Also, E2 will be
to come back. Yeah,
he'll be more comfortable next year as well.
Jennifer off the mark for 3, and that'll be Adogi with the rebound. So see if Burt can get a couple more looks here in the final minute of his Tulsa career. There's a foul in the lane, and that will be called, I believe, on Trey Scott, and it will. Now, the other thing that Frank Haith has talked about looking to develop in his team is a little more ability to deal with adversity. When things aren't going well or when they get behind in a game, trying to find a little more resolve to dig down deep and turn it around. And that's something that he'll spend part of his offseason looking to address, I'm sure, with his team. But having to turn the roster over as much as they were, you know, you knew it was going to be a long year for the Golden Hurricane, or certainly longer than it's been the last couple of years. I think they were picked to finish 9th by the coaches in the preseason poll. And right now in this tournament playing as the 7th seed.
Cincinnati showed again tonight that they have a lot of answers on both ends. And Tulsa put their head down and got into a good rhythm offensively. Cincinnati always answered with good offense and then tightened up the D.
20-point win. Winner of this one will get the Yukon Huskies and the Houston Cougars winner. Both teams standing in the tunnels waiting to take the floor as soon as the final horn sounds on this one. Be about 20 minutes between games as usual. Get you updated from the studio on everything that's going on around college basketball. In the meantime, Duke and Carolina has gotten awfully close, where the Tar Heels had a big lead earlier. So it looks like another good finish coming down to that one in the final minutes down in Brooklyn. That one over on ESPN as we speak. And then what we expect to be a very good matchup between the Huskies on their home court and the Cougars. So Burt taken out of the game. His Tulsa career comes to an end. And you can just see the disappointment on his face. Here's Tobler. The senior walk-on into the game, always gets that chant when they're playing at Fifth Third at home from the student section. Respected, appreciated, and gets in the game, and you know things are in hand for the Bearcats, but Tobler to get a chance here to shoot some free throws.
This Cincinnati group really meshes well on the offensive end of the floor. And they space the floor, they share the basketball, and they really make the extra pass. And this team has evolved into a real confident offensive group that wants to run, they want to space, they want to take some threes, but when they need to go inside and get a bucket, they can with either Washington or Clark.
If seeds were to play out, we would get a championship game Sunday between SMU and Cincinnati, and the third time they would have played this season. The first game up in Cincinnati was a two-pointer that came right down to the last second. The much anticipated rematch down in Dallas kind of got away from Mick Cronin's crew, so you know they would like to find a way to take care of business and set up a possible rematch. Of course, the Mustangs, after giving up a 24-point lead and having to scrape out a win over East Carolina in the first game of the day earlier, still have some work to do to take out B.J. Taylor and Taco Fall and Johnny Dawkins' UCF Knights in the first semifinal tomorrow. That one at 3 Eastern on ESPN2. And, of course, Houston still has something to say about all of this. Kelvin Sampson's Cougars waiting to run onto the court when the final horn sounds.
Well, Allen, impressive win. Tapped the buzzer for Cincinnati. They came in the first game of this tournament and just took care of business. Very confident, very workmanlike, very teamwork-like. And Tulsa played hard. Just they didn't have the bodies up front to battle the Bearcats.
Kyle Washington with 21, Jacob Evans with 20, Troy Copane with 15, leading the way for the Bearcats. And Cincinnati will await the winner of the game next between Houston and UConn to find out who they will play in tomorrow's semifinal. That second game on ESPN2 at 5 Eastern time tomorrow. And there it is, 3 of the 4 spots filled in the American Conference semis, the 4th still to come. Dominant performance tonight by the Bearcats. The Golden Hurricane end their season at 15-17. UConn ready to run on to take on Houston. 80-61 the final score. After a break, we head off to the studio for College Basketball Live.